Welcome to Misty Mountains Holistic Therapy. My name is Lindsay and I'm going to teach you today one of the best communication hacks that you can implement right away. And that is using a book for communication. Have you ever been in a discussion or an argument with a loved one, or like your partner or even a friend, and you feel like you're saying things and they're not hearing you, and then they're saying something and you're spending the whole time trying to think of something to defend yourself because you feel like you're being attacked all the time? When we're in this kind of a communication war, nobody's being heard and we're always trying to communicate defensively. When nobody's being heard, you can just end up going from one topic to the next and nothing gets resolved. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. I've been in this kind of situation a lot where you say something and then it's like the other person kind of changes the subject all of a sudden to like just, I don't know, one up or just not answer your question. So this can get kind of heated and get really difficult, and especially when there's kids around, you do not want to be yelling or arguing or saying things that you don't mean. It's really important that when it comes to communication, to say what you mean and mean what you say. And it's really hard to do that when you're not being heard and you're not communicating properly. Oftentimes when we go into a defensive mode, we go into a fight or flight mode, and that shuts off our thinking brain. Our logical brain shuts down and we go into fight or flight mode, and then it's just nothing but defense. This doesn't work in any kind of an argument. This doesn't work in any kind of communication, debate. It doesn't matter what you're trying to do. You cannot convey your real thoughts and feelings when you're in fight or flight mode. It comes out Google babble. It comes out wrong, defensive, rude, whatever. Some people just shut down altogether and can't even talk. So I highly recommend trying this out, where you just get a book. Just a book, some pages, probably some lines might be good, but whatever. Pen and paper. And when you take pen to paper, you're forced to slow down your thoughts. You're forced to really look at what you are communicating. What words are coming out? Are they making sense? Are you really upset about the thing that you think you're upset about? Are you really communicating what you want to communicate? Some people have, and I used to do this. Oh, I was so guilty of this. I didn't even realize I was doing it at the time. But you say something assuming that the other person gets the whole gist of what you're saying. But in reality, you're being somewhat vague just to confuse the other person so that you can kind of attack them. It sounds really devious, I know. But sometimes we can get into vibrations that are just argumentative. It kind of goes into the, unfortunately, victim mindset thinking and victim mindset living, where we always kind of need to fight. We always kind of need to argue. We always need something to be right about. And I know it sounds really awful, and I was so guilty of this, and that's why I can see it, I understand it, and I know the way out of it. So be honest about what you're saying. Write it down, because sometimes, like, if you're going to your partner and you want to say something and you start writing it down first, you might solve your own problems quicker on your own with a pen and paper than you will trying to convey something back and forth with them. You might come to a conclusion that is well-rounded and just fine on your own. But if there's something that you actually need to communicate, write it down. That way you can be clearer, and you'll notice if you're not being clear. And that way when you hand them the book and they have a good read on it, if there's something that's unclear, give them the pen and just be like, show me, just don't even say anything. Just literally hand the book back and forth, writing down what's clear, what's unclear, what you understand, your answer, your new question, anything. Just communicate in that slowed down manner, forced to think about what you're writing and what you're saying and what you're communicating. Because sometimes we think we're being clear, but we're really not. Sometimes we think we're being nice, but we're really not. Sometimes we can get heated when we think the other person isn't listening or paying attention, and then we say things we don't mean. The great thing is about saying things that you don't mean on paper is that if you get it all out, you're like, oh, and you feel better at the end, you can just rip it, burn it, throw it in the wood stove. Take a breath, try again. It's harder to get more tries when you're speaking verbally because those words are heard, and your words hold vibration. Everything is vibration. So when your words speak vibration to another person, they feel it right away. It resonates inside of them right away. And this can hurt. So again, using the pen and paper to convey your messages, you can have a few tries to get your words right before you hand it over. You really can. And trust me, it makes a big difference. Again, especially if there's kids around. You know, kids learn by listening, by watching, by observing us. And this is not a bad thing for them to observe. Arguing over things and not listening to one another, that's not the greatest. You know, teach them how to communicate properly, and being able to convey your words out, get things out, and hand them back and forth is a wonderful way to start. So, say what you mean what you say, and be honest. That's the other part of communication. So often we just want to be right. So I'm going to give you one of the big tips for always being right. If you always want to be right, be honest. That's it. Admitting when you've done something crappy, just be honest. Then you're right. If you made a mistake, or if you didn't know something and now you're being informed about something, thank them. Like, I didn't know that. Thank you. You get upset because you didn't know. I know we're all conditioned to be defensive because we've all been used to being punished in school for not knowing things, or punished in school for being bad. We're grown-ups now. We don't need to live by those school rules anymore. You're allowed to grow. You're allowed to be wrong. You're allowed to learn. You're allowed to admit these things. And every time you're honest and just admit that honesty of just childlike learning, you are right. Dishonesty is the only thing that's wrong. You can't be wrong when you're honest. So try that out. Try both of these things out. Let me know what you think in the comments. And yeah, I'll see you next time.